Distinguished lady from Taguig and Patero, Senator Pia Cayetano, is recognized.
Mr. President, I rise today on a matter of personal and collective privilege about a very important matter. This is something that I feel ruins our reputation as a country, makes it very difficult for tourists and even balikbayans and traveling Filipinos to have faith in our country when these things happen. Mr. President, currently the country requires that every arriving passenger, whether Filipino or a foreign national, fill out and submit an e-arrival card. That in itself, Your Honor, is not something I have an issue with. This is currently the practice in many countries in the world. Some have completely abandoned any kind of extra arrival requirements that have to do with COVID status, but many countries still require this. I have no issue with this, Mr. President. Last week, during the budget hearing of the Department of Tourism, our Vice Chairman of Finance, Senator Nancy Binay, mentioned that many people have been misled by a fake website or websites asking them to pay for their e-arrival card when in fact this should be free. My understanding from Secretary Binay's discussion was that this has already been brought to the attention both of DOT and DOH. In any case, we also discussed this with DOH because 2 days later, this representation handled the budget of the Department of Health. Over the weekend, I came to know through my daughter that a particular website, and that will be flashed on our screen, is asking for a fee of $79, which is roughly equivalent to 4,500 pesos for the issuance of an e-arrival card. There it is, Your Honors. So, anyone who is told that there is such a requirement, normally, what do we do nowadays? You pull out your phone, you will Google e-arrival card, and what will pop up when you Google Philippine e-arrival card or e-arrival card in the Philippines, what will pop up, and I'll show you now in the screen. I wanted to show the picture that shows the Google search. Yan. That is what will pop up, and it's at the very top. Itong particular website na ito, Your Honors. The name is, mas maliit pa dito sa aking laptop compared dito. It says ph.entryform.com. If you notice, Your Honors, that's at the very top. It's a sponsored ad. Maybe our tech experts can tell us, but obviously it's sponsored, so it obviously binayaran, and it's an ad. It says it's an ad, Your Honors. So, yan ang lumalabas, and if you're traveling, nagmamadali ka, nandun ka na, nakapila ka na doon, natataranta ka na kung overweight yung bagahe mo, o excited ka na makita yung loved ones mo, di syempre, you will click on the first one. I've done it myself, I've clicked on the first, pero ako kasi kuripot, so when it comes to money, isuscroll ko pa lahat yan hanggang kamatayan nang mahanap ko yung mura. But in any case, you don't assume naman na may bayad o hindi mo alam, so click ka dyan. And it will then bring you to the site. Let me bring you back, Your Honors, to bring you back to that particular site. I'll tell you later on about the disclaimer. I'll go back to that later. So ito ka na, apply online. O di magkiklik ka, apply online. And what we will see next is the application form. Wherein, unlike a discount or a promo where you can get something even if you put a fake address, hindi mo naman gagawing fake kasi this is your e-card application. Kailangan mag-match yan dun sa passport mo and whatever else you're filling up. So you will put your complete address and then you will submit it. And it is upon submission that you are then told that there is a fee. Okay. So like I said, imagine, mamadali ka, ayaw mong maabala pagdating mo dun sa immigration sa Pilipinas, excited ka, o edi, I don't know how many will whip up their card and they accept all kinds of cards, di ko na isa-isahin, but they accept the usual credit cards. I'm just curious if they accept the e-payments other than the credit card. May option ba? O, credit card. So, yon. So, I don't know how many people ang naloko dito, but the reality is, Your Honors, for the record, there is no payment required to secure this e-card. None. Zero. Yan, okay? So, maliwanag yan ha, ang e-arrival card is free of charge. So, bakit may ganito? Bakit may racket ng ganito? So, I am told that DOH has submitted this case and asked for the assistance from NBI. They have also written to Google because this is a Google search. I also, on my own, have reached out to Google and I've also made representations that this is damaging, not only to our reputation, but damaging to the pockets of Filipinos and foreigners who would be victims of this scam. So before I end my very short privileged speech, Your Honor, again, I'll reiterate that this was first brought up during the budget hearing chaired by Senator Nancy Binay because we want to promote tourism. Again, I have no issue. I would tend to follow the recommendations of DOH on the requirements. I have an issue that there are people who are taking advantage of our tourism, of tourists, of balikbayans coming back, to the detriment, to a financial price that they need not pay. In fairness, there are news reports on this. I am not the first person to bring this up. And before I end, I'd like to point out, ayan, yan yung mga news reports which we are showing online. So ulitin ko, mga kababayan, mga kapatid, mga minamahal natin OFW na babalik, our foreign friends who are coming, there is no payment required to fill up the e-arrival card. But it's very confusing when the very first website that you will see upon the Google search, and let's go back to that now, when you click on it, there will be a payment required. But balikan lang natin yung website itself. The website itself, Your Honors, ito yung kanilang pagmamalinis. Sorry, can you show the website itself, the what do you call that? Like the front page of the website. Yan, Philippine e-arrival card. Most likely, when you see this, you will click on apply online, right? So you will miss yung napakaliit na statement dun sa ilalim na kahit siguro lumapit ako, hindi ko pa rin mababasa. Kaya I've asked my team to just print it for me to see clearly. It goes on to say that this is a professional travel agency that aims to help individuals and that there is a service fee. So I'm sure yan yung pagmamalinis nila. But it is not wrong. It is not right. It does not make it right. Unang-una, kung gusto nila talagang hindi makaloko, di dapat ibalandra nila doon, di ba? There is no need to pay. Ano bang tulong ginawa nila? Wala. Wala naman tulong eh. Wala naman silang tulong except pagkakitaan ng mga Pilipino or mga bisita dahil nagbayad sila ng sponsored ad para maklik sila. So wala naman silang service na ino-offer and I can still consider that fraudulent, Your Honor. So that is it. The purpose of this speech is to bring it to the attention of our colleagues, to bring it to the attention of the public. Again, as far as the government agencies are concerned, they already know, but to also ask them to be very vigilant about these things because every day that passes, that ad is there, it's deceiving Filipinos and foreigners entering our country. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator P. Actually, I was also victimized by that last July. And I almost missed my flight because of this. Nung nag-apply ako ng e-health pass, dito po ako na direct. So, I was also victimized. Thank you for that, Senator Pia. Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, may I be allowed to just ask some clarificatory questions in the light of this privileged speech of our distinguished colleague? If the distinguished lady would yield to some clarificatory questions from this
Of
representation.
course, Mr. President, we're very happy to discuss this. I do not want our colleagues to think, though, that I'm an expert. I will just share the little research that we have found on this matter.
Thank you, Mr. President. At the onset, may I just put on record that this representation would like to associate himself with the statements made today and yesterday by the Honorable Senator from Taguig and Patero, Senator Pia Cayetano. Alam niyo, Mr. President, iba na talaga yung panahon ngayon and you can do almost everything online. Ang mga estudyante nga ngayon, tinuturuan kung magninegosyo ka, gagawa ka ng something, at hindi mo kayang gawin online or hindi kayang ma-access sa telepono, eh wag mong gawin dahil walang mangyayari dyan. Ang malungkot lang, Ginoong Pangulo, ay sumasabay din po sa digitalization ang mga scammer. Parang kailan lang po pinag-uusapan natin dito and right behind me is the chair of the Committee on Public Service. Pinag-uusapan natin dun sa committee niya at dito sa plenaryo yung ipinasa nating SIM Card Registration Act para masugpo itong mga tech scams na ngayon meron ng bahagyang solusyon ang problemang ito. Pero still, no, lumalala po yung mga scammers. And in the light of Senator Pia Cayetano's statements yesterday and the debates on the same issue during the deliberation of the budget of the Department of Tourism, this representation actually checked the operational statistics of the Manila International Airport Authority to get a sense of the probable magnitude of this issue. And from our data that we checked from January to August 2022, there have been a total of 2,723,010 international passengers who have arrived at all the terminals handled by MIA. Now, as the economy is picking up, Mr. President, and tourist arrivals are increasing, annual international arrivals could actually increase as much as 12 million passengers, which was actually the pre-pandemic level, Mr. President. So we can only imagine the number and total value of scams that went unreported, Mr. President. Furthermore, upon scanning social media and previous news reports, and I just want to put this on record, Mr. President, distinguished colleague from the city of Taguig and Pateros, we found out that this One Health Pass scam has been going on since March of 2022, or possibly even earlier, Mr. President. Our basis for March 2022 is not Facebook, Mr. President, not a Facebook post, but a travel advisory given by the Philippine Consulate General in San Francisco. This was dated March 31, 2022. The advisory warned that the public of the existence of the fraudulent website which poses as the official website and was then subject of an investigation. Gusto ko lang pong pakita, Ginoong Pangulo, Madam Senator, the OHP was only replaced by the e-arrival card on November 1, 2022. And we checked the fake websites today and note that they are already down. But for public's information, I just want to put this dito po sa ating screen. Ito pong mga websites na ito, can you imagine? PhilippinesOHP.com and Transform-Philippines.com Philippines.form.com. Kung titignan nyo po, Ginoong Pangulo, ito ho yung mga posible na iisipin mo na pupuntahan para magtanong kung ikaw ay pupunta o bibisita sa Pilipinas. Mr. President, these are fakes. Ngayong araw lang, lumabas din po itong www.phentryform.com .com, yan pong nasa dulo na yan, peke din po ito. Kanina lang
Yan
po.
po yung example ko.
Lahat po yan peke, Mr. President. Yes, and that's why, Mr. President, my first question is, what can we learn from our neighboring countries? For example, in Singapore, they also require an arrival card and electronic health declaration. But we've never heard of any, Mr. President, similar scam affecting their processes. Singapore has, what do you call this, yung anti-scam center that proactively dismantles scam operations even before people make a report. And I remember sharing this during the hearing of Senator Grace Poe when we had this resource persons, Mr. President. They were saying when they established this anti-scam center in Singapore, I think it's established 2019, if I'm not mistaken, they were able to recover more than $200 million, Mr. President. So, ang ganda ho, no? I'm just asking, Mr. President, meron kaya tayong matututunan sa mga neighboring countries natin dito sa ating pinagdadaanan ngayon na napakalaking oportunidad para dun sa mga scammers para lokohin yung ating mga turista, Mr. President?
Actually, Mr. President, I'm grateful for the majority floor leader that along with his question was an answer. Na meron ba tayong ganyan? Meron ba tayong anti-scam center or something to that effect? Because what crossed my mind, Your Honor, when I came upon this problem was ano yung ginawa ng authorities. I'm not sure kung ito yung hierarchy ng steps na ginawa nila, pero yung sinabi nila sa akin is sinumbong nila agad-agad sa, this is the IATF ba? Si IATF ang nagsulat, sinulatan nila ang Google, pero ang unang na-report kasi sa akin is sinumbong nila sa NBI. So, when I read that, I'm like, naku, ano kayang proseso yun sa NBI bago ma-actionan agad? Because, you know, I'm aware that NBI handles a lot of heinous crimes, things like that. So sabi ko, saan kaya? I'm just curious. I'm not putting malice, nothing. I'm just curious, what is the hierarchy in NBI in handling this? Do they have a scam center? There may be other colleagues here, Your Honor, who know more than me. I do not know if they do. Sana nga meron para na-action. I would think, narinig ko yan, di ba? Parang I've heard them being involved in, in internet or online cybercrime related, well, cybercrime. So hindi ko alam. Hindi lang talaga ako, this is not my level of, this is not my area of expertise, Your Honor. Maybe there is. But in any case, I'm shocked to hear from His Honor na March pa pala.
Yes.
So here I am, nagkakandara pa, Your Honor, yung reservation ko for my privileged speech yesterday was for another topic. Change ko yon for this topic because nga, every moment that passes, nag-aalala ako kung sino at ilan ang nasa scam. Eh yun pala, March pa pala. Which doesn't change the urgency, no? But I'm just surprised na nandyan pa rin. So, yun. So, Your Honor, I don't know the answer. I'm happy to find out further if there's no one in the plenary who knows more than us, because we definitely need. And when His Honor says that Singapore was effective in bringing down these scams, ay talagang kailangan natin ng ganyan, di ba?
Yes, Mr. President. Senator Grace po just whispered to me na meron po yung NBI, but maliit lang yung
ito nga.
cybercrime unit nila, no?
So to be clear, yung sinulatan po ng DOH is the Executive Director of the Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center. So maybe, Mr. President, in the referral here, masama natin ang appropriate committee that can call NBI and find out how important is this to you. Kasi, I don't know, Your Honor, if we take a wild guess na it's the first one eh. The particular website I mentioned is the first. So, if 10%, 20%, 50% of travelers will click on that, Your Honor, ilan kayang naloko nila? And I want to call them for them. Eh, sabi nila, they are, dun sa disclaimer na pagkaliit-liit, they are daw an travel agency. O di tawagan natin sila. Tawagan natin sila at sabihin na, ba't nyo ginawa yan? Wala namang bayad yan. And meron akong tinatanong sa team ko, yung tungkol sa meron silang sinasabi na mapapadali yung application. Is that relevant to this particular situation? Or may iba pa silang services na ino-offer? Kasi hindi naman to application na parang visa na may inaantay ka eh. So, I don't know if they're even giving the impression na yung e-arrival card mo, madedenay. I mean, unless it's really just a declaration of facts, di ba? And if you don't, if they know that you falsified it, okay. Pero why will they make it appear that they can give you priority in the expert help? What expert help is required?
Yes.
Wala naman.
It's a sad fact, Mr. President, as I flashed a while ago on screen, yung mga easily would pop in your head if you wanted to visit the Philippines or ask
And it's referring
the
to e-arrival, right?
requirements needed before you can actually visit the Philippines. I hope, Mr. President, that we can also get an update from NBI Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center kasi yun nga po, March 2022 pa po ito, nakita natin yung mga website scams. Gusto din nating malaman kung meron ng development, may nanagot na ba dito, Mr. President?
Basahin ko ulit.
And another question that I'd like to raise, I don't know if the distinguished sponsor is aware of this, because again, we recently replaced the One Health Pass, Mr. President. We replaced One Health Pass with the e-arrival card. So, ang question ko po, is the process now more efficient, Mr. President? And what are the improvements in the implementation of this new program, which was implemented, if I'm not mistaken, November 1 of this year?
Yes. My understanding, Your Honor, my staff inquired, the information that you need to declare is more or less the same, no? Sino ka, saan ka pupunta, and then yung vaccination status mo. What changed, Your Honor, is the technology. It's now what they call scan and go. Scan and go. So, instead of maybe manually looking at it, or maybe manually inputting, by virtue of technology, they can scan and capture that information.
Parang QR code na lang po.
Yes. I'll add lang, may mas magandang version ang Singapore because you can do it on site or you can submit ahead of time. So habang pinaprocess ka by immigration, nakita na rin nila na nag-submit ka. Tapos, wala nang I guess they don't even have to evaluate it on site because it was already previously submitted even before your arrival. So maybe yung scan and go, pwede pang mapabilis na maybe submit or scan, submit and go, something like that. Travelers, ito yung sa atin po. Travelers can fill out the e-arrival card at their own convenience prior to departure or upon arrival. And then, a scan and go system is implemented. So may scanning pa rin. And I'm not saying like yung sa Singapore, which is the example I'm giving, I'm sharing here on the floor, doesn't do the same because when they process your passport, they see your name, nagpa-pop up yung sinubmit mo if you had submitted earlier.
Yeah. And you can easily do that even when you just arrive in the airport. Actually, there's a boutique there or something where you can easily scan and apply right away, Mr. President. So I'm just sharing this, Mr. President, because, you know, just to put all these ideas and thoughts that we can think about as legislators to further improve
Of course.
our system. And I just hope that there will be safeguards that will be in place to protect our passengers from similar fraudulent activities in the future. Because I am sure, Mr. President, sa dami ng mga turista, pati mga OFWs natin, ang dami na hong nabiktima nito. Let me end by saying, Mr. President, that we understand the necessity of putting utmost priority on our citizens' health, especially since we still have COVID. But we must also be determined to prevent people from being exposed to this other kind of evil virus, one that costs them their invaluable right to data privacy, makes them lose their hard-earned money, and causes unnecessary stress and inconvenience. So let me end by saying that this representation would would want to put on record we support the call of our distinguished colleague, Senator Pia Cayetano, for perhaps a Senate investigation on the matter to get to the bottom of this particular issue, exact accountability, Mr. President, and put in place necessary measures and even legislation that would prevent this from happening again in the future. So again, my sincerest thanks and gratitude to our distinguished colleague for her time and in answering this humble representation's question. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, Your Honor. Thank you for sharing your insights as well, and even the example of Singapore. May I just add, Your Honor, I see that Senator Grace might want to take the floor. She's very welcome. While she is making her way to the podium, may I just add, kasi I'm reading more carefully this disclaimer. Talagang nanloloko sila. Kasi binigyan ko pa ng benefit of the doubt kanina in the way I presented this disclaimer na, at least may disclaimer, maliit nga lang na hindi mo nababasahin, may disclaimer pa rin. Hindi pati yung disclaimer niya, nakakaloko. Kasi sabi niya dito, inamin niya na they are a professional travel agency. And then they go on to say, there is a service fee, which includes expert help and assistance. And the fees charged by government. Wala ngang fees. So pag binasa mo to, whether turista ka or Pilipino ka or talagang nakatira ka dito, tapos alam mong, di ba, alam mong nagbago, may balita ka na dati, yung health pass, ngayon may ganito, di sasabihin mo, may fee pala. Nagmamadali na ako, di makahingi nga ako nitong expert help, di ba? And then it goes on to say, Your Honors, an application, itong application mo for the e-arrival card, an application can also be submitted for a lower cost through the government's website here. Anong lower cost? Wala ngang cost. So nangloloko talaga siya. Kasi they put it in such a way na pwede ka naman, you can ignore us, pero mahihirapan ka kasi kailangan mo ng expert, tsaka lower nga naman doon, wala nga. So, panloloko pa rin. I change my conclusion. Panloloko pa rin siya. Maski yung disclaimer niya, nanloloko pa rin. There are no other services here. Pangalan pa lang nung site is e-arrival card. Kasi sabi ko, kung travel agency naman talaga siya na legit, na meron siyang ino-offer na tours. Diba? Tapos sinabing, meron kaming mga ino-offer na services, tours, or whatever. I get it, may service fee. Nag-o-offer sila ng service dun sa isang bagay na wala, but mas alam ba niya yung pangalan mo kaysa sa'yo? Mas alam ba niya yung vaccine status mo kaysa sa'yo? Wala naman ganun, Your Honors. Papasok mo lang naman yung data niya. Yung data na yon. So, I submit, nanloloko talaga tong mga taong to. Gusto ko talagang ipatawag to. At gusto ko silang pakulong.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Senator Pia.
Mr. President, next to interpolate is the distinguished lady from Pangasinan, Iloilo, and the Republic of the Philippines, Senator Grace Poe. I move that she be recognized, Mr. President.
Our amazing Grace, Senator Grace po is recognized.
Thank you to my kinakapatid, Mr. President. I would like to thank Senator Pia also for bringing up this issue. An e-arrival card is a relatively new document being required at meron na agad mga fake websites. Perhaps at this point, since the DICT has their cybersecurity management program, in fact, we gave them 274...
Your Honor's referring to NBI, no? Am I
No,
correct?
DICT.
DICT. Okay, sorry.
DICT also has their cybersecurity management program. We paid them 274.73 million. We gave them for this allocation in the budget. In fact, it's duplicating some of the work also of the NBI. That's why it's confusing. There's no
Yes.
central government office that you can lodge a complaint to on certain particular cases like this.
So,
But it
sorry,
al-
Your Honor, can I just clarify? Because I'm listening intently to what you're saying. So, in terms of kung saan pwede magreklamo, may duplication. Pwede kang magreklamo sa NBI, pwede kang magreklamo sa DICT.
Pwede
Tama
ka
ho
nga
ba?
rin magreklamo sa PNP eh.
PNP
Kaya
rin,
nga,
okay.
magulo. This is part of the reason why we had that hearing before, to have a centralized repository of complaints.
Of complaints,
Not even a
yes.
repository, but a central desk where
Yes,
you can
complaint
complain.
desk.
Kasi nga, ito yung yung CICC, DICT yan, di ba? So the CICC, the Cybercrime, Cybercrime So yung CICC, Cybercrime Investigation Coordinating Council, is not under the NBI. It's under the DICT.
Okay.
So, of course, our colleague here from Taguig
Taguig
is a
and
lawyer.
Pateros.
Can the Senate direct them to act already? Because this is what I'm thinking. First of all, it's very public. They have a website. So this can be traced. Probably they have an IP address. Number two,
It's
because
sponsored, so
fraudulent,
binayaran nila yan. Meron
Binayaran.
silang contract with Google.
Plus, they're accepting credit cards.
Yes.
So those banks,
Yes, Your
I
Honor.
don't know if we have the authority, but clearly this is fraud. Perhaps we can direct those banks to look into their account. Ano ba yan? Baka
Yes,
pwedeng
Your Honor.
itigil muna yan. But definitely, there has to be a government agency to direct those banks to not accept accounts from these companies. So maybe that's an angle we can look at, but definitely we should call the DICT. Maybe not a hearing at this point, but just to call the office.
I would be happy, Your
And
Honor,
remind
to instruct my staff to call right away and then to give a short, to provide them with a short letter summarizing our observations, Your Honor, so that they can act upon it immediately.
And provide them the names of those websites.
Yes.
Kasi, the Philippines has to spend a little also to protect its citizens by maybe paying Google an ad to put it
Yes.
at the front. Kasi yung top search is what you click
Yes,
on.
yeah. One of my staffs told me that normally, nauuna daw yung government website. I don't know how, well, you're nodding? Your staff is also nodding, Your
yeah.
Honor. So, parang, nauna pala yung government website. Ganun ba yun? Pataasan ng bayad? I don't know. And I'm not going to assume. So, kung may rule pala na nauuna yung government website, paano nauna to? Bakit siya yung
I'm not
pinakauna?
sure if there's a rule na dapat maunang government website.
Parang by practice yata, yun yung lumalabas. Or I don't know sa Google search if they do their own.
It's in their algorithm apparently. But,
Yes,
but
exactly.
of course,
Exactly.
if you pay to be
Then perhaps the
top.
ad goes up.
Oh, now.
But that's again something we can ask Google also kasi
Yeah, they
it's
have
a
an
private.
office here. In
They
fact,
do.
they're tenants of Senator Villar.
I will tell
no,
her.
no. They
And
have-
I've reached out, Your Honor, to a high-level officer already.
Yeah, because I know that Google cooperates, especially when there's a crime being committed.
Yes, in fact, I know they
So-
have programs, Your Honor.
And it's very, according to my staff, it's very easy to coordinate with them. So,
So
but-
nakakalungkot naman, 'di ba? Kung ganun pala kadaling mag-coordinate with them, ba't naman inabot ng ganito? It always frustrates me also, Your Honor, na we have to take this up, no? And have to bring it to the attention of our agencies when they could be acting on their own.
they're not very proactive. I suppose, Mr. President, the good senator from Taguig can draft the letter.
I will.
And then we will also call up that they should take down these websites or find out the IP address and then also coordinate with the banks. I don't know if it's the central bank. I used to be committee on banks, but there's an anti-fraud division also in the central bank.
I heard of a story where one person who was victimized was able to, well, at least she requested that the credit card company removes the charge.
Refunder. I suppose that's a good credit card company. Kasi
Kung
ang
nagawa
hirap
nila yun.
kumuha ng refund
Oo.
dito sa mga local cards natin.
And I actually
Baka
don't know
US
if
card yun.
successful. Narinig ko lang yung kwento na pinaano nga niya yung charge eh. Di ko alam kung successful.
I know in the US it's so easy to reverse charges
Yeah.
or to take credit. Here in the Philippines it's so difficult. Takes them forever. You pay nga them in advance, they won't credit your account right away. So may mga
Maybe
ibang
that's
hugot na
something
yan.
we
Okay.
can also look into.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Again, thank
Thank
you to
you.
our Senator from Taguig, Senator Pia, for bringing this up.
Thank you, Senator Grace. Actually, I'd like to thank Senator Pia also because as I mentioned, I was also victimized na wala na ako ng $80. Muntik pa ako maiwanan ng eroplano because of napunta ako sa fake na One Health Pass. No? I lost almost I was in Milan 3 hours ahead. last 30 minutes ako nakaboard because dito ako napunta sa fake One Health
Wow.
Pass. So
Wow.
nawala na ako ng $80, buntik pa ako maiwan ng aeroplano. Thank you for bringing this up, no? Because a lot of tourists and Filipinos will also be victimized by this fraud.
Yes.
Majority Leader?
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we refer the speech of the distinguished lady from Taguig Patero, Senator Pia Cayetano, and all the interpellations and manifestations to the Committee on Justice and Committee on Tourism. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, motion is carried.
Mr. President, I move for a minute suspension, Mr. President.
Session suspended.